What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, or to the channel. My name is Travis. Of course, this is TWA Motorsports, and today got a few things for the SS. Now, guys, I know I've said I've been back and forth on whether I'm going to keep this thing or not. I still haven't decided. It needs some stuff, guys. For one, it's running kind of choppy. I figured we'd do just a quick little tune-up. Nothing real extravagant. I want to put plugs, wires. I want to put a fuel filter in it. This is the first year of the SS, so it still has a fuel filter. The 04 up probably didn't. They shouldn't have anyway, because it's built into the tank with a pump. But these should have an auxiliary fuel filter, so we're going to be changing that. And then the biggest noise and complaint that I have about this thing is the power steering pump is junk, guys. It's got almost an inch of shaft play forward and backwards. And so we're hoping to get that replaced today as well. So we're gonna start up top here. I may grab my light to give us some additional light here, but we're gonna get the intake off of this, or not the intake, but the intake, all this plastic stuff that covers it. And then we'll kind of go from there. We're gonna start up top here with the 8mm. I'm gonna be real honest with you guys. I've never had an SS, so I don't exactly know how these panels go on. So that one I know because it's standard across the whole platform, 8mm in the center, but these on the side, they just set on there. Look at, there's a big old dirt dauber nest back there in the back. Holy cow. Okay, that one has a screw in it. There's a screw in both of these, and it's not screwing into anything. That's kind of weird. Holy smokes. Look at that. That thing's massive. Get rid of that. All right, so now, I think those are supposed to be screwed to something. What about this one? This one's on a hook. I don't know about the rest of this, guys. Get these out of here. Okay, maybe this one. Okay, there's a screw back there too. Not really sure why those aren't screwed in, but they probably should be. So once we get those out of the way, we're gonna go ahead and just grab, oh, golly, there's a bunch more dirt daubers on this as well. I'm gonna grab all of the connections on the spark plug wires and just yank those off and toss them. Once we get the plug wires off, I wanna look at one of these plugs. I won't bore you guys with kind of not being able to see me pull the plugs out, but there was a dirt dauber nest on like a plug wire. Kind of an odd place to nest up, but I'm guessing this thing was, I think it was parked in a barn. Oh yeah, those plug wires, or those plugs are toast. Well, good thing we're changing them, right? I'm gonna go ahead, what I may do is just grab a plug and put one in. As I take one out, I'm gonna go grab what I've got. So here's the spark plug I chose to go with, some TR5s. Seems to be pretty popular. I know TR55s are probably more popular, but guys, I want the gap to be about 39 thousandths. So you're gonna have to check the gap, and I know this is not the best method of checking it. So I'm going, I know this is not the greatest filler gauge either, but I'm just shy. I'm right in the middle on 39. So once we do that, the next thing I'm gonna do is we're gonna put a little anti-seize on the threads. Just barely any. And then we're gonna put this thing in here, and then we're gonna repeat this process, what? 7 more times. The other thing I'm gonna do is, why I've got it out, or why I've got, you know, access here, I'm gonna go ahead and put our plug wires on. Now guys, I'm actually using the ones out of Cohen's Corvette because they're like brand new, and they're a quality wire. They're just a GM factory wire. And I don't torque my spark plugs, guys. I just get them snug. You can if you want. It's really hard to torque the back one though. And this is a copper core plug. which doesn't last as long as a platinum. Platinums are what was in it, but it generally idles smoother with a copper core. That's why I like to use the cheapy last 10,000 to 20,000 miles and throw them away NGKs. Another thing you're gonna see is I am reusing the little metal boots that come on them. And look at the difference in the, I'm hoping these fit. I think they will. The trucks sometimes, their coil pack sets a little higher. Yeah, these won't work. Okay, so never mind on that. We may have to get another set because those are not gonna work. I decided I had a set of extra like super low mile stalkers over there. So we're just gonna use those. I forgot that these coil packs set so much higher than the old ones. So I'm gonna go through, get all this done, and then I don't know if we'll go under the truck next or we will go to the power steering pump. Probably power steering pump since we're under the hood. Now that we got all the plugs and plug wires on, old one's out, new one's in, they all looked about the same. I'm gonna unhook the negative side of the battery and we're gonna attack getting all this stuff off. You know, guys, I noticed this thing was like ridiculously fast, and it's because it has a Powerade throttle body spacer. Yup. That's probably at least 100 horsepower. Anyway, I don't understand stuff like that, but either way, they did what they were supposed to do, which is sell units. But I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with taking the intake off, just a Phillips to get that guy out of place. Then I'm gonna work on getting this off, which is a couple clips and some 10 millimeters up top here. There's a couple push-in clips down below. We'll get the radiator shroud out of the way, and it'll just give me more room to work. Let's see if we can get, you guys can tell my neighbor's mowing. Holy cow. I probably don't even need to take this off, honestly, now that I look at this. I was gonna take the mass airflow plug off, but actually we'll just unhook it before that. This is an air raid intake, which honestly, guys, is okay. If you're running electric fans, there's a way nicer one. This one has the cutout so you can run the manual fan. Maybe we can get it off here. I may have to loosen it a little more. Goodness, that sucker's in there. There we go. But you can see what I'm talking about. The one for the electric fans doesn't have this spot here. I don't know if we can get this out or not. It's got a ton of cracks in it. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll just take it loose off the mass airflow sensor and get it out of the way. There we go. That's better. To get that loose, we're gonna reach down in there with my clip removers and pull these guys out. These style clips. There's two of them. This side actually doesn't have the center, which I think I may have an extra. We'll set those up there. We got those on both sides. And then once we get those out of place, we're gonna grab a 10 millimeter, get this upper radiator shroud out. This one's a little tougher to get to because of the angle. And like I said, the 10 millimeters here, hold the top of this in. And you probably could do this without taking this off, but holy cow, I wouldn't want to. Let's see if we can get this out of here. Unhook those lines. There we go. All right, next I'm gonna take the belt off if possible. This is another reason why I hate manual fans. It does have, however, a brand new fan clutch, I noticed. This is always the way of it. I get my ratchet stuck and stuff. There we go. We'll get it off there eventually. Or maybe not. Either way, we got the belt out. Surprisingly, the belt is in incredible shape. All right, so now probably gonna need I'm gonna be able to get that 10 millimeter there. Get this guy loose. There we go. Figured I'd drop that. I'm gonna take the alternator off just so we have it out of the way and it's not like hindering what I'm doing. And it is a 15 millimeter. Holy cow, is it snug. Guys, I've been using this thing more than you could ever imagine now. Spots that I can't get, you know, like my impact in, which I probably could get it here with the swivel. We're gonna need a pry bar for this. That thing sure comes in handy. You get a pry bar, generally you can get underneath this thing and pry it up and out. And you kind of got to hammer it back in, it's the problem. Now to give me some more room, I'm going to try to get this bottom strap out, which can be done without removing a whole bunch of stuff. That out of the way. And now we have a couple options, guys. We need to get the pulley off of this thing, but I don't 100% know that we can do that with the fan in place. Now, if we had obviously an electric fan, we could. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 15 millimeters out that hold this to the truck. Before I do that though, there's two 10 millimeters over here that hold this like battery connection. My 10 millimeter is completely shot. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get a new deep 10. I'm gonna get that off and this will be loose. Then we can go, I think there's 5 15s total that we can hopefully pop loose. Well, a little good news, bad news. Good news is I think there's only 4 of them and they're all on the forward facing side. The bad news is, I don't know that I can get them with the fan on here, and I really, really don't want to take the fan off. We'll see. It's the bottom one that's the problem. Let me see if I can get my impact in for that one. They're definitely tighter than 37 millimeter. This has been off before, that's for sure. All right, we'll see what happens. I may be able to get an extension on this down there and get that off. With an extension, we were able to get that thing out. Got one more, I think. We'll see here in just a second if this last one is all we have left. You know, the newer style, and I thought these older ones did too, had one that came in from the back, but you can definitely tell there it does not. It just fell off. So, now what are we gonna have to do? I feel like the fan's gonna have to come off. Check something out here. See that right there? Remanufactured. Probably why it's a piece of crap. So we were replacing with a brand new unit. But either way, you can kind of see we were able to fold it over. What I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna open this up, try to suck as much out as I can, just so we're not making as big a mess. But guys, there is I believe that's an 18 millimeter here that feeds the hard line in. And then this is the return line, doesn't have any pressure on it. Or sorry, the feed line, yeah, the return line doesn't have pressure. So it's got a couple clamps on it. I don't really know. Yeah, I think we should be able to get that loose, but like I said, I'm gonna drain it out first. Now, if you're wondering, like, how are you gonna get the old stuff out? Well, guys, I'm using a turkey baster. And so it's not the greatest method, especially because it leaks, but it's got some red fluid in it. I wonder if it's red line. At least it's clean, even though the pump's junk. Now, you're not going to get it all, and you're still going to make a mess down below, but look, this, believe me, when you've got a pump full of this stuff, it will make a massive mess all over the floor. So we'll do this until I can't get it anymore, and then there's the only option after that is obviously get it everywhere. And I'm getting it everywhere anyway. We get that off and then we'll figure out what size that is. After getting out as much as I possibly could, 16 millimeter, guys. I thought it was 18, but generally it's 18 on anything steering related, but I guess this is different. I put the catch can or the drain pan underneath. I'm looking at this water pump install and it's making me crazy because there's silicone on everything, but this has really good fluid in it. All right, so once I get that 18 line out, which is the hard line, the pressure line, I need to go ahead and there's a couple just worm clamps holding the return side. So let me get those off. Look, once you get that line loose, it's gonna make a mess, but we've got it out of there. You can kind of see where I'm talking about. I know I didn't get you in real close, but let's try to block that off. But you have the return line that goes here and then the feed line that goes here. But now that we've got that accomplished, we can go work on getting the pulley off. So in order to get the pulley off, you're going to need a puller / installer kit. And kind of how this works is these two pieces sandwich around. Okay, so let me loosen it up and show you. But you've got these parts, right? So this goes here, this sandwiches around it, this sandwiches around the other side. You can kind of snug it down if you'd like. And then this little ring keeps those little half moon pieces on there. And then what we need to do is we'll tighten this up, and as we're tightening this up, holding this bottom one, this pulley will start to walk off. Now, can you use, I know I'm using 2 adjustable end wrenches, but could you use an impact? Yeah, you could. I don't like using an impact because if it doesn't act like it's working correctly, it's a little too late if you screw something up. So this thing isn't on there like super deep, so it'll start to walk off, and it gets easier. I don't know if you noticed, but it's getting a little easier as it gets closer to the end. Why GM designed this way? This had to be a ton of issues for any kind of warranty replacement, as far as like speeding the process up. Whereas if they put like the newer style pulley where, let's make sure it's walking off. Yeah, it is. If they put the newer style pulley where there's holes in it, then you could just take the pump off. So once you get it to that point, you can see we're off there. This is the pulley. And then you can also see how it's put on with 3 15mm bolts. So now I'm going to go grab the impact, because I am going to take those out with the impact. We'll hammer those 15s out. Got those 15s loose, and there's what we got. So there's the old, see what I'm talking about? Look at that. You could hear that shaft play. Crazy. All right, so I think we can move on to the inside now, because I just didn't want to make a mess in the shop on the floor. we can move into the inside now that this is all apart and we're putting new parts together. Here's what I chose to replace this with: a brand new, not a reman, a brand new GM pump, spec'd for this truck. I will list it in the description down below, guys. I don't know how many models it fits. Let's look in here and see. I don't think it comes with the new O-ring. It does have some fluid in it. I'm gonna inspect the O-ring before we go back, like back completely together. But this is the new pump. And so obviously, guys, this guy goes back in with the same bolts that we took out. And these get torqued to 18 foot-pounds. So if you're wondering, like, the pulley gets torqued to 18, which there's no real good way to torque the pulley. I do, if I can find it, I have another pulley I want to show you guys so you can see like the newer variant of this. Although you would still, I guess if you're reusing the pulley, you'd still have to pull it off, but at least you can get the pump out without having to take the whole bracket loose. So we'll torque these to 18 foot-pounds. And check that, we'll check that seal out on that line. Well, I was gonna show you the other pulley, but I can't seem to find it anywhere. So to put this guy back on, right, we get it kind of started like that. And then this should thread into the middle of it. You have some different sizes depending on, because this is like a universal installer slash remover. But this should thread in the middle. And if it doesn't, then that's a problem. You need one that does. But then what'll happen is you'll hold the top and you'll pull this thing back into place. So like that, you don't need the little pieces on the side anymore. And how I like to do this is basically you go until it stops. All right, so now we're holding the top, which I guess technically it'd make more sense to do it the other way here. And like I said, you can use an impact if you'd like. I don't recommend it. If it's going on, like let's say it's not going on square, it would really get tough and you would never know that with the impact. See how much easier this is? Wouldn't hurt to put a little grease in the middle of that either if you wanted the pulley. You should get a hard stop when you're to the point you need to be. See that? I think we are there. See how hard it stopped? We'll try one more here. Oh, no, we're not quite there. I didn't want to make you guys watch me roll it all the way down, but it'll come to a hard stop, and then you should be able to get your bolt out of the center. That looks good. See if it spins nice and true. It does. Still got a little wobble though, doesn't it? That's interesting. That other shaft had that same kind of play. I feel like it had more though. I'm gonna go check it. I got a couple others out here. I'm gonna check it real quick. Well, the couple others I have the same kind of shaft play. So anyway, we need to look at this rubber seal. Man, that thing looks great. I'm gonna leave it. Normally I'd replace that, and if you buy a new line, it's gonna come with one. But guys, it looks to be in good shape. So we're just gonna thread that back in, hook up our worm clamps on the return hose, and we should be good to cinch this thing back up to the motor at 37 foot-pounds. Making sure there's no other noises I'm hearing in here. That's got a little play. I don't know. We'll see. I'll tell you the hardest part here. Getting that hard line put in straight. Man, it fought me for a minute, but I got it in there. So we're good. Don't know if we're gonna get rid of our noise, but maybe. So now guys, I'm gonna fold this up into place. We're gonna get the 10 millimeters back in the side of it, the 15 millimeters torqued to 37 foot-pounds on the front of the motor. Remember, there's 4 of them. Unless you have the newer style, then there's one that comes in from the back. And we're gonna top this thing off with fluid. So for the alternator, you get those 10 millimeters back in that post too. But for the alternator, you're gonna have to knock this thing back into place. It's not just gonna go like nicely. So what I generally do is take a rubber mallet. If you get one side started, that's good. Sometimes you just gotta knock around on it until you get it started. Once you get one side started, generally you can kind of swing it over. And those go to 37 also. And then of course, guys, don't forget to, or at least try to put this back in place. I noticed that this was on the wrong side too. It's supposed to go in this little piece of, this little holder here. So we'll get it on the right side now. Obviously this thing's had a power steering pump before. I'm hoping it's the reman, but with this one having a little shaft play in it, kind of makes me wonder. All right, so now all we gotta do is start hooking our connections back up. And like I said, I'm gonna top this off. I think I've got some power steering fluid over there. We'll grab it next. I actually think too, before I even put power steering fluid in, I'm gonna go ahead and put the belts on, because without the bottom piece in and the top piece, the upper radiator shroud, life's a little easier to put that in. We'll put it in, sneak the shroud in, the bottom one anyway, and then we'll probably come up and fill it up. Got all this dumb plastic back on here. I don't love that, I'm not gonna lie. But either way, I got it on there. This one's the hardest one because you gotta blindly find that hole. But these weren't connected, and I went ahead and connected those like they were supposed to be. But anyway, we just gotta fill it up with power steering fluid, but then we need to move the wheel back and forth, which means I may have to lift it up so we can make sure we're not making a milkshake in there. If you guys fill it up and you don't do that, then it's gonna get a bunch of air in it and it'll be an absolute nightmare. So make sure that you lift it up, put the key in, turn the wheel back and forth. I like to do it 4 or 5 times, and then you pull this out. Obviously you check the fluid, put it back in, do it again, and just keep repeating that process until the fluid's full. And then then we'll worry about starting it. So that's the next thing I'm gonna do. I am gonna go ahead and hook the battery up though, because I wanna put my battery tender on it, because the battery's kind of been dragging. Well, I've double and triple checked the fluid. Now that we are topped off, like I said, guys, I turned the wheel back and forth with the tires off the ground. I lifted it up a little bit. We are good. I've still got a little bit of a noise. I still think there is a bearing in one of the pulleys that's bad, but it's a little better. So that's I guess a win. Not quite the win I was hoping for, but look, you get what you can. All right, we're gonna get under this thing and see if we can change out the fuel filter. I believe it's probably somewhere in this area, but I'm gonna grab my dolly or my creeper and we're gonna slide under there. We'll get a light and see what we got. So I've got my filter here, and I don't remember if these are a clip in the back. Oh, they're actually a screw on both sides. Okay. So right here is where our filter is, but it's inside the frame rail. So if we get up here, you can see it right there. And so guys, you're gonna need a couple things. You're gonna need, I'm just gonna use 2 adjustable end wrenches. You're gonna get gas on you. There's no way around it. I do wanna show you a couple things I'm gonna address. Check that out. Not sure what that's about. O2 sensor missing there. I noticed that dangling underneath, but we're gonna address that. But look right here, see that? That right there tells me we're probably not gonna go very far with this truck. It's probably gonna be an in and out deal. Guys, it's not quite as bad on the other side. It's still kind of rough, but look at that. That inner and outer rocker are gone. You know, being an SS, it's all covered, but I don't know. I just don't want to get into that. I really don't. Probably should have left this truck here or at the guy's house and not bought it, but it was close. It was cheap. I don't know. We'll just see what happens, but I'm pretty sure that right there is going to kill this whole project. just seeing that. I mean, I saw some of it when I was at the guy's house, but it was a kind of a spot where I couldn't get up underneath really well. So, but either way, let's get the filter changed. I'm gonna pop this one off. Just hold the inner while you're loosening the outer. Like I said, guys, you are gonna get gas on you. There's no way around it. We'll slide this old one out and put the new one in. Hey, remember when I said you'll get gas on you? Check that out. Now, a lot of people argue that you're supposed to, you know, go up to the front and release the pressure on the Schrader valve. Guys, I don't care how much you do, you're gonna get gas on you. We've got the new one in place. There is an arrow on it. Guys, it flows a certain way, so the arrow will point which way it flows, right? So it's going from here to the front. So the arrow will point towards the front. But you can generally also tell by, well, there's still gas pouring out of this. This little ring is generally on the side that's supposed to face the front of the truck or the motor. But either way, we've got that on there. We got it cinched down. I took that piece of wiring off, got it all tied up. Guys, we are set. I'm gonna get my light and all the stuff out from under this so we can get out of the gas. But you might want to watch to make sure you don't have any leaks here when you start it up. Guys, it's going to be a little harder to start. We just drained all the fuel from here forward. So don't be surprised if it takes a little longer to crank up. All right, let's try to start this thing up. Check for leaks at the same time. Like I said, it's going to take a minute. No leaks. That's good. You can still hear my noise up here, guys. I don't know. Almost sounds like it's an AC unit. I'm gonna pull this thing out. I gotta clean up the floor. Pulled it outside, got the floor cleaned up. Just took it down the road, guys. It's still got a little bit of a noise, like I said. It is quieter than it was. I don't know if you guys can hear that on camera. I mean, it could be internal, I guess, maybe a lifter, cam bearing. Golly, the oil pressure is great. The oil looks awesome. Seems to run better. It definitely needed a tune-up. But guys, like I said, when we saw the rust on there, I knew there was some rust. Don't get me wrong. Look, I'm not, these trucks have rust. You know, I lucked out when I bought this one, it didn't have any, but it's pretty common on these. I just don't think I want to put the amount of effort it's going to take to make this thing the way I want it to look. So this will probably be the only video you see on this. I will let you guys know if it sells. I actually listed it. Some of you may have seen it. It's been listed for a little bit. I thought maybe I would just sell it anyway. I just got a lot going on. So I don't know, down the road, I still like these trucks and I'd still like to have an extended cab. I really want a two-tone truck is what I'd like to have for a little bit, but I would like to do an SS truck because I had some ideas on this one when I bought it. But guys, ultimately it would make more sense for me to sell this and buy one that was like a lower mile unit as opposed to like putting all the money into, you know, you got some rust to fix, you've got some paint to fix, you've got interior you want to fix. So ultimately it just makes more sense if you start adding all that stuff up to buy one that's maybe a low mile example and do the things that I want to do. So I don't think it's the end of the road for an SS on this channel, like a Silverado SS. However, it is going to be the end of the road for this one right here. But guys, if you did enjoy this small little tune-up video, the few things that I did, which I think are great maintenance items, guys, go down there and hit that thumbs up button. Guys, while you're down there doing that, make sure you hit the subscribe, ring that bell notification that notifies you every time we drop a new video, and stay tuned to see what we work on next.